One of the biggest things I learned in 2018 when I relapsed was, that reservation, if anything happened to my family, my personal ministry fell apart, my marriage fell apart, everything fell apart. And I had to take a good hard look in myself. And, my kid's mom had a valid reason for wanting a divorce. And it was, you spend all your time helping other people and your kids are here without you. Even when you're home, you're not home. Here.
Wow.
And I had to take a hard look at that. And she was right.
Yeah. Man.
And so today, I do protect that time.
Yeah,
I love helping others.
Yeah.
But my time with my family and my personal time, it's got to come first because, the old oxygen mask from the airplane illustration.
Apply it first.
I got to have my oxygen before I can help anybody else.
No, and that's good. And it's true. I can get guilty of that too, right? I'm a creative and I'm doing this, so I'm trying to work on this and doing all this. And, she's in there like, okay, buddy, when you want to quit making reels or you want to come in here, I'm in here.
Yeah, I'm big on family, because we have a daughter who's in recovery. She's in a treatment center right now in Fort Myers. She's been in, her and her boyfriend, almost 4 months.
Praise God.
But man, and she was hooked on fentanyl. And just very similar to me, because you always have that child that kind of tends to gravitate towards you, and they see you and then they end up doing the same things. Then I have one daughter that's the total opposite of me, but I'm like, listen, David, we need to go be there. Like it was her first pass. And I was like, man,
she was fresh out of surgery
I was
too.
Adamant.
She should not have been out of bed.
We are going, because I want her to know, listen, you are important to me and I support you, so nothing else matters. I don't care if I show up in sweatpants. I don't care. Yeah. I want you to know how proud I am of you and how much I love you, so I'm huge on family, huge.
And she is. And we are, my son-in-law and my daughter, Adriana was out of our life for about 3 years. Yeah. No talking. Like some bad things happened, her ex-boyfriend had got shot 5 times and killed, and then she was staying with us, and I was like, you got to get out of bed and go. The boy wasn't going to Bible study and playing checkers, you know what I mean? Right. And probably back to that delivery thing, it wasn't probably the best way to deliver. I'm like, you need to go get some counseling, you know what I mean? Anyway, long story short, she ended up, we didn't see her for 3 years, and we had to let God do that. There was a lot of times I wanted to do it. Like I think if I can make a joke and tell her we're going to Busch Gardens, I can make this okay. Because David can fix everything. If he, and to see it come full circle. And same thing with Brianna and Michael. Brianna had went in a treatment center that my buddy's mom's owns, and why can't I think of the name of it? What's Pastor Sherry's place? In Wauchula. I can't remember it. They're awesome. But anyway, shout out Pastor Sherry. We'll put it on her. But she was in there for about 3 months.
Lydia's house.
Yeah, Lydia's house.
Amazing program.
Yeah, amazing program of women. And she was doing good in there. And then she got in her head and left 3 months. And then she got right back with Michael, they were toxic. You know what I mean? And we picked them up from a trap house and broke my heart. You know what I mean? Broke my heart. And they ended up going into the program, and then to go back and see him a month later in church with Jesus, it's amazing. Yes. And so, and we believe, if he can do it for us, he can do it for anybody. Absolutely. And our kids. So, if you're out there and you've got a kid who's a prodigal and gone, hang on, because there was many nights I told Jonna, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Oh, I keep looking over at the camera. My boy's like, you've looked over there 5 times, and I'm supposed to be looking there. Ain't none of them. If my points are sideways, don't worry about it.
That's my camera.
I keep looking at this one the whole time.
That's because you see your face.
That's why. But if you're out there and you got a prodigal, just trust God. There was many times Jonna told me, I want to call Adriana, or we need to do this. And I said, we got to let God do it. We can't do nothing. So hang on. If you can get anything from us, hang on. If you can get anything from these 4 people right here, it's that Jesus is real.
Yeah.
And he's still in the miracle working business.
And just because you're ready, it's like, Sam, you know how that is with kids. It's like we changed our lives and we so badly want to prove to them, listen, I'll be whatever, I'll be the mom that you deserve, the mom that you need to be, because that was my motivation to get clean. I looked at my girls and I looked at my son, Ethan, and I was like, man, they deserve so much better,
They definitely do.
But it's not in our time, right. And sometimes we have to let go and trust God and let God have his way. you know?
And it is time, for both of what you guys said, my dad, please hang in there, because my dad never gave up on me.
Right.
Like, he was not bonding me out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in Connecticut. He put money on the phone so I could hear "I love you," and that was it.
That was it.
My stepmom didn't talk to me for the first 2 years I was sober, and finally I was allowed back at the house.
Right.
My kids, my rights were terminated of parental rights. And I just started they found out I was sober, and they are offering to have my rights reinstated.
Wow, that's God.
So I didn't knock on their door.
Yeah.
They heard, and it is God. So hang in there. My biggest thing is you know who our God is?
Yeah.
Like,
He's God.
He's God.
He's
like
God.
He can do. I'll be the first parent in the state of Florida to have this happen.
Wow.
There is nothing.
And I
that
believe
my
that's
God,
going to happen.
Oh,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's a little bit of a process, because he decided he was going to smoke weed and he was going to drink. So bringing an half addict into a house with two that are in recovery is high risk. So but they're still allowing it. I still get overnights. The process is in motion, and
so awesome.
It's all God, and all I do is show up and stay sober. Use your network. Yes,
right?
He says go stand in front of the church and pray. Go stand in front of the church and pray. He says go and talk to that person on the side of the street, whether they get it or not. Just go. Pastor George says you're bringing the message. You're bringing the message.
Yeah.
That's just It's God's timing. It's
so
not
good.
ours.
Sometimes you'll hear scripture. We'll take it back by force. Sometimes God will just give it back.
Yeah.
You don't got to do nothing but be faithful.
Yeah.
Yield to what He's telling you and heed it, and He gives it back.
Everything.
And then sometimes you got to go and put in the work too. But like that, like you said, you're just working on you.
Yes.
You didn't go knocking. You're like, listen, I don't even know. And it goes back. You might be like, do I even deserve this?
Right.
But that's what God's saying.
But God is
keep
faithful.
on.
Yeah.
Keep on going. It's in everything we do. If we just trust Him, He comes through. And I'm looking at the right camera, trusting God right now.
He found his camera.
I found my camera. It only took me 37 minutes. But
he found it.
But no, you guys. So let's get into. And these stories are awesome. There's going to be links for their socials.
Yes.
There's going to be links for the Recovery Church. There's going to be links for everything that we talk about on here. We're going to get into more right now. There will be links in the description below, right at the top. So if you're in the Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, all this area, West Palm, it don't matter. You can be in Connecticut. It don't matter. You come on down. There's nothing. There's a lot worse places you can be in Florida, trust me. Coming from a kid who grew up in Illinois where the winters are, there's a lot worse places you can be. Trust me. But so let's start with Samantha. Tell us what you're doing now. I mean, obviously the Recovery Church. You guys want to give that when you meet and the times and what's going on there. And then also what else you got going on. I know you got some great things that you're involved in, and then we'll get to George.
Right now I am working as a success coach and a step facilitator at United Against Poverty. So it is an organization here in Indian River County, and we want to be a hand up and not a handout. So you can come into our crisis department and we will either get you the resources, or we are the resource for a bicycle, shelter, electric help, medical insurance, just whatever it is. There's a member share grocery program there that is open to anybody who is 200% under poverty level.
Right.
And it's discounted produce and all the 5 food groups. The portion that I do is success training employment program. So it's a 4-week program. You come through. It's 9 to 1. We help build your resume. We get you dressed for success. We teach you emotional intelligence, how to communicate in a job interview. And through that program, I have 40 participants every 4 weeks on rotation. And there's my oldest one was an 89-year-old man who was sitting home on Social Security, and he was bored and he wanted to go back to work, didn't know anything about a computer or resume. I have the youngest was an 18-year-old boy. His girlfriend was pregnant and he needed to have a career and he didn't know what.
Wow.
We work really close with all the sober living developments and community here. So that's what I do during the day. That is all God. I'm not a person that wanted to public speak. I fought tooth and nail every time they asked me, and now I am the center of attention. I am facilitating this girl.
God's got jokes, doesn't he?
He is funny. Like, who am I to help you put your life back together?
Right.
I guess I'm the perfect person to do it.
Absolutely.
What better person than a person who's walked
because there's not much that you can tell me that I haven't, if I can do it, it's a mustard seed of faith. People have hit so many barriers in their life and they just don't believe in themselves. Right. And I believe in you,
That's great.
So that's what I get paid to do. And then Monday, I'm a part of women's ministry, Breaking Chains Women's Ministry. We meet here in Vero Beach from 6 to 6:30 for fellowship, and 6:30 to 7:30 is group. And Miss Lori is the founder. She met me a week sober, and I walked in and she says, "Hey, baby," and never saw the broken, alcoholic, horrible mom, all that stuff that I felt. And this lady has adopted me as her child and literally changed my life. She does not speak anything but the Bible. You want advice, she's going to tell you what God says. Right. You want to know right and wrong, she's going to tell you what God says. Not her opinion, not what she feels, but she lives it.
You're right.
Yeah. And she is at Recovery.church. She knows nothing about recovery until she met me. And she is at Recovery.church every single Wednesday to help support and to be my biggest cheerleader. She is the godsend. God knew that I needed a strong one. So there's 50 women in this ministry that just met me the first 2 weeks and came over me. I didn't have a choice but to stick around.
Right. You're
gonna hold you hostage.
God, Wednesday night, I'm dedicated to Recovery.church. It's the other part. I need God. I need recovery.
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah. I tried all Jesus, and man, he's got wrong. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying that he's not the head, but we're not normies, you know what I mean? Yes. And we're a different breed. And it's hard to tell somebody who hasn't experienced some of the things I've had. Yeah. I mean, I've told people in church, and they go, "I'm going to give you so-and-so's number, brother. I don't think I can help you."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I respect that. And that's why people like us are so relevant. Yeah. Them ladies need you.
Yeah.
No, it ain't just, God changed me, and that's what I want. No. They need you. Vero Beach needs you. Yeah. Fort Pierce ladies, they need you. Everybody around here needs you. You know what I'm saying? They need your story. They need your grit. Because working with people in recovery ain't easy. No. They can wear you a little down. It takes a special person that's lived it, walked it, can see through the BS, can show them love when it's time to love. And they need you, I mean, facts. That's why you've got it going.
I'm trying.
And you need them.
I need them. I just want people to know that God has forgiven us, that we're loved, and we're capable. So, and who else better than us broken individuals to go out? I don't want textbook recovery. I don't want textbook, but I want someone that has the struggle, and other than that, my husband has sober living houses. So between what I do and what he does, we're just, we're just trying to save one person. If I can make a difference, not even save, if I could just make a difference in one person's life and help put it together. I think a lot of it for me was when I was homeless, where do you start? You can't have a job if you don't have a car. You can't have a car if you don't have a bed. You don't have an ID. You don't have, how do you put these pieces together and keep them together while you're still couch hopping? Right. I have a good handle on it. You can come through where I'm working. You can come through what I do on the side, put it all together. And if you work it, it'll work.
It'll work. Yeah, and it sounds cliche. And it's not as easy as people think. I'm about ready to look over there again. It's not as easy as people think. If you've never had an ID, try to make an appointment at the DMV just to go get your plates renewed.
You need a phone.
How it's going to happen. Yeah. So that's what they're out there doing. If you're out there now and you don't know, your wallet got stolen in a homeless camp, or, you lost everything, whatever, that's who you need to contact. Yeah. And the links are below. Go there. She can get you going. Why? Because that's what she does, and she's been there. We get rescued from the fire to go back to the fire and help people. Yes. We just ain't out here. She ain't out there because she's knocking down, 10 figures. She's out there because
I'm a millionaire.
Her thing's getting stacked in heaven, right?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm gonna have a gold trailer up there.
I am too. Right, I'm gonna have a nice one right next to God.
I'm just happy I get to go to heaven.
Right. All right. And so all the links, go ahead and look right at them, and for the editor to grab where, say where you meet and where your place is and address and all that.
Oh.
Or if you don't know it.
United Against Poverty is 1400 27th Street, Vero Beach, Florida, 32960. And Breaking Chains Women's Ministry
I don't know the address.
It's the old
It'll be below.
You did great.
I'll get the address
Yeah,
for you.
it'll be below.
We'll put it up. Don't worry.
Okay,
We'll put it up.
thank you.
Don't worry.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, to Mr. Lynch, my brother.
Yes.
All right.
Tell us what's going on with you, man. And I was, just before you get going, I was amazed when you walked me around the place. And all I could think, and I kept telling Jonna, if I'd have had a place like this,
Oh man.
I would have probably made some leaps and bounds at different parts of my life. I'm not saying, but I mean, it's a really nice facility. You know what I mean? And what you got going on is next level, I believe. So tell everything.
So let me tell you how we got there,
Yeah.
right? So that same sister that was the brute.
Right.
Shout out to my sister Stephanie.
Stephanie!
When I got out of prison, she gave me a place to live, and she only gave me one requirement. And she's like, "You're going to go to recovery. Like, if you want to go do your own thing, go do it, right?" And so I, that's where my journey started. I started out in a homeless ministry, and that was simply, and this is why this is kind of so important, why we give people that don't believe they have an opportunity, because somebody gave me that opportunity.
Right.
His name was Tom King. He's gone now, but he saw something in me that I did not see in myself, and he gave me opportunity to share the gospel. And from there, I've worked in some sort of recovery over the last 20-something years. And, I got involved with Dynamic Life when it was a treatment center and worked there for 4 years. We were a PHP IOP. That closed down and we became Sober Development. And, there's a lot. I want to just share right now that, in Indian River County, there's a really close-knit recovery community. So I want to give a shout out to Pure Health and Wellness. I want to give a shout out to Sober Development, her Sam's husband runs. I want to give a shout out to Oxford Houses, to Nehemiah House. Right. I mean, all of us are a really tight-knit community.
That's good. That's what it takes.
It is. And we're not
United.
competition. Don't want to forget Thrive. We're not a competition. We're only in competition with addiction. Right. And so we're all on the same team, and we really operate like that. So I got asked to become the director of Dynamic Life at the first of the year. And why this is so important to me is because the very same mentor that told me that if I wasn't willing to clean behind the toilet, that I wasn't fit to be behind the pulpit, actually helped start Dynamic Life.
Oh, wow.
And a few years ago, he passed away.
Right.
And so they asked me to be the director at the first of the year, and it was an honor and a privilege to take on. Dynamic Life is a men's sober living and recovery development program. We house 28 guys. The cost is $200 a week, and that provides for not just your housing, but also we've got a food pantry, we've got free mental health counseling. We offer scholarships for guys that don't have any money coming in the door.
Right.
And we partner with United Against Poverty in those scholarships. So if you take part in those scholarships, you got to go through their program.
Yeah,
right?
that's awesome.
Again, it's a hand up, not a handout.
Cool.
Right.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I think that's so important.
Yes. And, we don't have a determined length of stay. So, a guy can come and stay for 3 months and say, look, I've gotten all I need, and, go on with their recovery and their life. Or if they need to stay 2 years to get on their feet, we're good with that too, right? We provide spiritual mentors for them. We do recovery coaching and case management. We have 4 great staff members, including myself. My team is really awesome. Shout out to Jason and Heath and Jay. They really are the crux of what gets done there because they're engaged with the guys. 2 of our staff members live on site 24 hours a day.
Nice guys. I met both of them.
They are, man. And, it's more, and they've been, all 3 of those have been through the program. So they're guys who started from the bottom and are now employed there and helping to help guys get back on their feet. Yeah. So it's really a blessing,
awesome, man.
And, with Recovery Church, Recovery Church Vero Beach has been in existence since 2017. And, Philip Dvorak, who is the founder of Recovery Church Movement, I worked under him. He was a clinical director at Dynamic Life, as a matter of fact, when we were the treatment center. And, my friend Wayne kept saying, you got to come check out this thing called Recovery Church. And I'm like, I was kind of jaded. It was kind of towards the end.
Right?
And so I get there, and it was in downtown Lake Worth, and it was in a place called the Bamboo Room. And you walk in there, and it is, memorabilia on the wall. There was a bar in the back. They had pulled all the liquor out of, right? But you walk in there, you had 300 to 400 people
Wow.
All worshiping God, all in recovery. You had somebody who was probably just shooting up in the parking lot to people in 3-piece suits.
Right.
And I thought, man, this is it. But what really blew me away, right, was when Phil came out. Phil was doing the talk that night. He talked from the Bible and he talked from the big book, and he brought them together. And I was just like, I never really heard it fit like that. And I'm like, man, this is it. And so after he got done talking, like some little fanboy, I ran up to him and I'm like, you got to come to Vero Beach and do this. And he told me no.
Oh, man.
And he said, but I'll help you do it. Right. And so we launched Recovery Church of Vero Beach in 2017. And now they're set to be over 100 campuses by 2026 in the United States.
Wow.
They've already got a campus in Costa Rica. They're talking about campuses in England. They're talking about campuses in Africa. I mean, it has exploded. And if you hear Phil tell the story, like Phil will tell you, he never envisioned himself. He was like, God, do you really want me to be the addict pastor? You know, because he has his own recovery story, but he didn't want to be like pigeonholed in that. And man, God just blew it up. God just blew it up, man.
That is beautiful.
I mean, every time my son always says, Dad, there's another one. I'm like it. You know, there's another one like it. And, you know, we've got 2 now. We got one in San Carlos Park in Fort Myers and one in Cape Coral. And then the one up in Sarasota. I love them people up in Sarasota.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Oh, my gosh.
So cool.
Hey, you want to talk about treating us good? We're going to be going back up there, too. It's amazing.
Nice.
But man, you said it, George. It's this.
It's the marriage,
It's got to go together. People that don't get it, I quit. My whole life is I quit apologizing to people that don't get what I got to do to be the best David that God's called me to be. Right? You know what I mean? Because if you do that, you'll spend all day long trying to explain to somebody who's not going to get it. You know what I mean? It's trying to explain to somebody, then they go, why did you steal your mom's car again? Or why did you go back and do it again? You can't explain it, right? But it just happens. Recovery Church, you can't really explain it, but then you're just seeing it. And I'm like, as soon as I first went, I'm like, no, man, this is what's going to change, right? You know, we're leading in overdoses. Churches don't want to mess with it too much because it's messy people. They'll get their one good drug addict, you know, who gets up and you can give your testimony, you know, and we've been those people like, hey, get up and share how God changed your marriage and how you got off drugs, you know what I mean? And that's great. But sometimes they don't get it. And see, again, I'm not knocking out anybody that wants to believe whatever you want to believe, okay? You know, they're like, oh, you got a demon, and you just ain't giving it to Jesus. Well, what happened to me, I started going, dude, your faith, you suck. You suck as a Christian, dude.
I don't have enough faith.
Well, why is Bob, you know, there? Well, or why is Sally is doing good and Dave? And I'm like, man, I would literally, so when I would make a mistake or fall, I'd be all in because we're usually all in people. We're ride or die, or we're fight or fly, whatever it is, we're all in, right? And so when I would be going to church and I'm just serving God and I'm not really, you know, I wasn't big on the 12 steps normal, you know, I'd go, but I didn't want to die of cancer. I'm like, I quit drinking so I don't die. Now everybody's smoking here, I'm going to die, right? You know, or whatever. And so then I would say, I'm just going to go to church, right? And there'd be a couple, you know, Christian meetings or whatever. But, you know, when I see Recovery Church, I'm like, oh, this is what we need, because I would go to church, I'd go to the altar, and I'm trying to serve Jesus. And then when I made that fall, I'd be like, well, look, Dave, you know, because I've had people say, you just holding on to the past and you ain't letting that, let's pray for you. I'm like, oh, it's still here, buddy, right? And then when I seen this, I'm like, this is what's going to make a difference in our people.
Something,
and it is
something that my first sponsor told me, because, you know, I didn't understand like how people can just, you know, believe in Jesus and never want to drink and drug again. And I'm like, you know, how do I be one of those people? And he said this to me.
This is going to be good. Look at the camera and say this one. I already know.
He said this, Mr. Shoop, he's gone now, but shout out to Mr. Shoop. He said, you know what? Sometimes God microwaves people. And he said, but sometimes he puts them in the slow cooker. He said, George, you're in the slow cooker.
Yeah.
And, and that's something that the Recovery Church movement, our ideology is this, right? We want to be the bridge, right? We want to be the bridge, not just to the rooms of recovery, but also to the church, right? Because we want the people in the rooms of recovery to understand the biblical roots of the 12 steps and the importance of being in a church family. But we also want the church to understand the importance of, addicts and alcoholics going to the rooms of recovery and how they can support that. So we want to work both ways.
Yeah, and it's so good. And sometimes in addiction, it gets broke down to, people that drink, smoke, got tattoos. Those are bad people. When addiction, some people need to push themselves away from the table. Yeah. A little bit, right? And I've been that guy.
All kinds of addiction.
Because when I got clean and we got off drugs and we had some sobriety and some time under our belt, when we got rocked by Hurricane Ian and lost everything, guess what I did? I've lost 120 pounds since then, but I got up to almost 400 pounds because you know why? I'm smiling and laughing like, we're going to bounce back. And then I'd eat a box of ice cream sandwiches, right? Because that was my way to cope. So what happens is addiction affects us all. Some people are addicted to chaos. Some people are addicted to relationships. They're addicted to porn. Whatever the addiction is, it can go, like George said, it can go from a guy shooting up in the parking lot to a CEO entrepreneur coming in. It's no respecter of persons. So whatever the addiction is, there's hope.
That's right. And
I found my camera.
The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells us that alcohol was not our problem; it was our solution.
That's right.
It's what we did when we have problems. And that's something that I'll have people say, "Well, why do you still call yourself an alcoholic, or why do you still call yourself an addict?" And it's because it goes much deeper than just a substance. Right. If you're a church person, you call yourself a sinner because you deal with sin.
Sinner
right.
Saved by grace,
exactly.
Whatever,
right. And so it's no different for me, right? It's just a reminder that there's still a sickness in me that if I leave unchecked is going to cause chaos.
That quick. That quick, too. You know what I mean? When Jonna and I relapsed and we were doing good and relapsed, it happened that quick. It went from being sober, doing great, to a felony stop, assault rifles, going to jail, ankle monitor.
Back than you were.
Quick, you know? And again, what I do, and this is how I do, and I don't expect everybody to do it the way I do it. I let you be you and God. Because when you meet God, I'm not going to be standing next to Jonna going, well, God, you do remember that one time. She did turn around pretty good, though. I know she got a little mad that day. It's going to be Jonna and God. It's going to be David and God. It's going to be George. It's going to be Sam. And we're going to give our own account. So what I do is the ones who get it, right? And I say this about our music. It's not for everybody. You give me a 40-year-old dude coming off substance that's trying to get his kids back, marriage, those are my people. Because I can tell you, if you want to listen, I can tell you what worked for me. And if you make these steps, it ain't going to be easy. Sometimes God will give you the shovel, but you got to dig the hole. You know what I mean? And this, but if you want to say, hey, God delivered, that's awesome. But this is what works for me. And it's just like that in marriage, in relationship, trying to work on relationships with kids that are 30, you know. And another thing, I think sometimes, this is my personal opinion. You can say whatever you guys want. Save the emails. I get them all the time. But just because you get Jesus in your life, you might not still be invited to your 30-year-old daughter's wedding. Right. Guess who didn't? Me. Yes. And you know what? Rightfully so. She can feel like that. But I will not make my grandbaby suffer because that relationship's not going to work. I can only go on and try to leave the legacy because it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish it. And, so a lot of people would be like, well, how are you telling people how to save a marriage and you got a daughter that won't ever talk to you? I'm like, God. Okay, buddy, I'm not here to answer you, but, I made this. I did. You don't got to look far to find dirt on me. You just got to Google it. You'll find it. You know what I mean? And that's why we're open about it. You know what I mean? But it's all about going back and helping the ones that want the help.
That's right.
You went into that when you went into that first meeting because you wanted the help. And you didn't have to go back the next time and go back the next time and go back the next time. All right, guys, we're hitting our time here. Man, I could talk all day. This has been, and everybody says I say this. Everybody says I say this. This has been one of my favorite podcasts.
That time it is.
But whenever I say it, I'm like, well, you got to come back on and get a better one then, I guess, right? But we thank you guys for coming on here. Thank you for rocking the Relentless Hope gear and supporting us. They got the Recovery Makes Me Relentless. there's going to be links below, and I'm telling you, no matter where you're at, I mean, I'm already thinking about people back home to tell about what's going on over here to get them over here. You guys are making a difference. You're important. Your story is important. Everything you're doing is important. And we love you guys. And thank you for making us feel at home.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Thank you guys for putting it together, George, and us coming over here. And we still got, three more to do. So get out and meet us. We love you guys. What do you tell them, babe? The camera. You got a camera. Look at your camera.
Oh, that's my camera. Let me look at yours.
We love you guys.
Yeah, peace, love, and chicken grease.
Oh, boy. Tell them bye, guys.
Bye.